questions, Coach?
Well, you kind of said even before the season and talked about throughout the Hillsborough process, and you're going tomorrow night now with a 4-game winning streak, a chance to get over 500. Guys seem to really start to be finding your stride. This kind of the way you envision things starting to come together?
I don't know if I've envisioned some of the frustrating moments throughout the season. We didn't draw those up, but from a big scheme, big picture perspective, I've always felt like we were going to be a lot better towards the end of the season than we were at the beginning of the season, in large part because Miru carries such a big load offensively for us. Maya Meredith carried a big load for us offensively and defensively last year. We had trouble defensively even with Miru last year and Maya not on the floor, so I knew there was a learning curve, and we didn't have a lot of experience, and so we had to kind of go through some of that, and we're still learning, we're still growing, but we're doing better. We're doing better. Our team defense is better, although there's still areas that we've got holes in, honestly, that we have to work on. But as a team, as a unit, we're playing better.
Coach, it takes some time, especially with ACL injuries and things like that, for players to get back to 100%. Sometimes players don't even get back to 100%.
Right.
Post-injury, what have you seen from Maya over this stretch? And do you feel like she's really kind of getting her rhythm back almost to 100%?
I think she's getting. She's not close to 100%. No, I mean the 100% Maya, arguably one of the, if not the best player in the conference. She's not close to 100%. I think mentally she's in a better place than she was at the beginning of the season. She's still physically not able to do the things that she's always been able to do throughout her basketball career. So we're just working day by day. She's getting a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit more fluid. But there's still moments where she's just not. But she's still impactful. A 70% Maya is still better than a lot of players. So we'll take it. And you see she has an impact rebounding. She has an impact on defense. She can still shoot the ball. I don't think her consistency's come back to where it was, and certainly not the range of ways that she would score as a freshman. So she's still getting some of that back, but she's growing. She's getting closer, and she's being vocal, and she's talking in practice, and especially on defense, and that helps us.
One of the things that's kind of stood out in this 4-game win streak seems to be a different person every night offensively. Whether is it Acacia against UTSA, but I guess that was before. But I was Teresa the other night. I think Maya was the leading scorer last week against UAB.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you've had a different person each night. As a coach, that's got to be nice to see because it kind of makes you hard to prepare for when you have so many good points.
It does. It makes you harder to know where the points are going to come from. Now that's both an advantage and a disadvantage because sometimes you got to figure it out right in the moment of the game who's kind of got the right matchup, who's kind of got the right energy offensively that night. But I think what we can take away from that is really the team's growing unselfishly, and they're kind of okay with it's your night, it's my night, it's your night, and they're just moving the ball. We're really trying to make sure the ball finds the best shot for the team, and that's improved from the early part of the season. A lot of times we made turnovers. Turnovers have come down except for this last game, and our shot selection has improved. Now we've had moments in both of these trips on the road where our shot selection wasn't great, but that wasn't as much of taking bad shots. It was not taking the right shot at the right time. And so that's still learning just in a different way, time and score situations.
Coach, this is like one of the last little bits of stretch when it comes down to playing conference opponents that you haven't faced before. How important is it to have like this first step and then re-racking and playing teams that are familiar like next week when it comes down to FAU, FIU, stuff like that?
Well, I mean, coming up tomorrow, playing Louisiana Tech's a huge game. They were in the conference championship last year, returned just about got the preseason player of the year in Walker, and really a hard-nosed, competitive team. And so that to play well against that team, that's what it's going to take to be amongst the top in our conference. And so it's important just to play this whole stretch. We've got 9 games in January. We had 9 games in November and December combined. And so just learning how to manage our energy and our rest and our recovery and our preparation during this stretch, it's important to play well every night. We don't have a lot of margin for error, and so we have to, do what we need to do to be ready to play for that next game, regardless if it's somebody we played the first time or the second time.
There's a lot of travel in this stretch too. I mean, does that add to the the mental aspect of preparation, and that even after this game you got to get in the suitcase and go to Charlotte?
Absolutely. Sometimes I wonder if we're traveling to play basketball or if we're delivering for Amazon. So we're moving so much, and we're constantly feel like getting out of a bag to travel. So that's just another challenge. We talked about that on this past road trip. That's kind of how it feels when you're playing at the conference tournament. You're not staying in your own bed. You're kind of out of pocket a little bit, and you've got to stay focused. You've got to get over some of the fatigue, whether it's mental fatigue from traveling or physical fatigue from playing. We just have to do those things that we've got to do, and that's another part of learning with a team that has a lot of freshmen and sophomores, is just learning how to, some of that mental toughness is unfamiliarity. Once you know what's coming, sometimes you're able to handle it better, but when you don't know what's coming, sometimes that's more challenging, and so some of that is learning right now as well, and I'm proud of how they've handled it. That we've had good practices, we've had good preparation. We haven't always had consistency in our 4 quarters when we're playing, but I think that's coming.
You mentioned Louisiana Tech, and obviously one of the things that kind of stuck to me too, looking at their stats, is they're a really good rebounding team. And I know that's been something that's been an issue at times within games that you guys have been able to correct. How important is that tomorrow night against a team that looks like they rebound really well?
It's important for every game. We're not the biggest team probably in the conference. We might be the smallest team. So we have to really be focused on making sure we box out, making sure we do our job to limit the other team's second chance opportunities. It's not just about us getting second chance opportunities. It's about limiting the other team's second chance opportunities. So that's something we focused on from day one. All the way back in June, we spend time every day in practice working on that. We do a better job at different times in games. There's times we've out-rebounded opponents and not won the game. And so I feel like if we can stay in or win the rebounding battle, we're going to be in the ball game, and then we give ourselves a chance.
Looking back at the Cornell game, for example, this team just looks like 2 completely different teams. What are the kind of biggest differences you've seen during this stretch?
The focus on defense, really buying into playing team defense and getting better at that every day in practice, not just in the games, but really not allowing a poor offensive start to affect your defensive energy. And then really getting great production from our bench. And we're playing 10, 11, sometimes 12 players, and really getting that production from everybody and everybody being ready to go has been the change. And so once you kind of adjust to those roles, that's helped the team a whole lot.
You've kind of gotten like a little bit of a groove going here. I mean, just starting out the season, you're basically a clean slate right now at 8-8, coming off of a major road game, 2 back-to-back road games, and coming back into Diddle Arena. I mean, what can you just say about this team as a whole, and like what it took to even get to this point?
I think it took to get back to where we're at a spot. We always felt like we could compete at the top of the conference. We never doubted that. It just was a matter of getting that confidence and actually putting that productivity on the court. And so I think it just was everybody on the team just continuing to trust that we're going to find our way back into the mix, and making some shots helps. Taking care of the ball, not turning the ball over helps. Playing better defense helps. Those things all add up. But I think the chemistry within the locker room, the chemistry on the bench, the chemistry just with that team has continued to improve. You can see that how they play together. The assists are positive. The defensive effort is good. The defensive and offensive execution isn't always where it should be or where we want it to be, but the energy's good, and as long as they continue to, one of the quotes I'll put on the board from time to time, it's hard to beat somebody that never gives up, and so I think that kind of embodies this team. Like there's times when it looks like we're down 13 and we come back to win. There's times when we're up 13 and then we're in a dogfight and we have to figure out a way to win. And so I think this team just doesn't quit, and when you don't quit, you're going to always be able to fight back and get in the game.
And you think this first time through, too, it's kind of emphasized how you feel like you can be competitive in this conference, because even the 2 losses are games you were in the fourth quarter and had opportunities to win, and ultimately didn't. You've kind of shown through this almost first time through that you can compete with anybody in this conference.
I think the conference from pretty much top to bottom is pretty competitive. And I think Middle Tennessee has a combination of experience and talent that maybe isn't as deep or throughout the other rosters. But really, on any given night, anybody can beat just about anybody. And so you've got to be prepared mentally and physically to be ready to play every night. And just like, we've proven we can compete with those teams, we've also proven that we can have a lead and let the team back into a ball game and have to fight to the end as well. So I really think the conference is almost a flip of a coin on any given night. Anybody can. I mean, you see that in other contests. So that's why it's important. Every night you've got to be ready. You've got to show up. We've got to have a good defensive start every ball game. We need to make sure we have that same defensive start starting the second half. And I think when we continue to focus on those things that aren't relying upon the ball going in the basket, you do all those other little things, sometimes the ball will just find its way in the basket.
Anything else?
Thanks, guys.